So real quick, we're gonna begin real quick with an article here, just to get our feet wet. It says here, this is from the Journal of Negro History, Volume 55, Number 3, July 1970. The article's called William Cooper Nell, Crusading Black Abolitionist. This is from Robert P. Smith, again, the Journal of Negro History, Volume 55. On October 6, 1847, in Troy, New York, William Cooper Nell, a Bostonian Negro, addressed a convention of so-called blacks and reminded them that to become elevated, the Negro must cultivate and practice the same traits which are elevating others around him, because it is more difficult for the Negro, Nell continued. Let him work the harder, for soon the hope for end will be attained. We shall not be transported en masse as the fabled palace of Aladdin was by the hand of the magician, and set down upon some Elysian plain. The anti-slavery movement may proudly point to several outstanding so-called blacks who figured prominently in the abolitionist crusade. One of the most important, though little recognized, all right, a lot of people don't know this guy, was William Cooper Nell, whose contributions spanned a period of 40 years and encompassed journalism, lecturing, black conventions, politics, and one of the earliest histories of the North American Negro. Contemporary observers, however, were so captivated by Frederick Douglass that they ignored the crusading efforts of lesser known Negroes. Nell was one such crusader, right? So you see what he's saying? It's like they allow you to know Frederick Douglass, but they won't let you know these other people. Why are these other people not as popular? You're going to see all the stuff he was involved in. It makes sense, like what they're saying. Why this guy not really known, and how Frederick Douglass overshadowing them? Because, you can do his history and genealogy and all that and probably link you to some type of servitude. So they allow you to learn from him. But people like William Cooper, we're going to see today, they don't want you to know his background. Right? These are all free people. I'm going to show you their status, where they lived, and what their genealogy is. William Cooper Nell's. Okay? So just a little bit about him. He was born in Boston on December 20th, 1816. His father, William G., formerly of Charleston, South Carolina. So his dad on his paternal side, that's his dad's coming from South Carolina. His middle name is Guillaume. Guillaume, it sounds French. But his last name, again, is Nell. It's coming from South Carolina. Hey, they might have some Huguenot. He might have some Huguenot blood in him. But for some reason, I cannot find anything on his dad. We're going to go ahead and show you the whole tree, the whole genealogy today. And I'm going to show you that there's really nothing else known about him, other than they know that he was a prominent leader in the abolitionist movement too. Yet they don't know anything about him. It's almost like he's being hidden. Anyways, we'll get down to it eventually. So that's his dad, right, coming from South Carolina. A tailor by trade and associate of David Walker, had been a founding member, listen, of the Massachusetts General Colored Association in 1826. His dad. So how is there no records of him? You understand? We're going to go ahead and try to look for that, all right? 2. It says, Nell's mother, Louisa, was a native of Brooklyn, Massachusetts. In 1829, while a student in the basement of the Belknap Street Church, a separate colored grammar school, Nell, though entitled to a Franklin Medal for his academic achievements, received instead the life of Benjamin Franklin. The white medal winners were then invited to a dinner given by the mayor of Boston, Honorable Harrison Gray Otis. Years later, commenting on this experience, Nell remarked, "The impression made on my mind deepened into a solemn vow that, God helping me, I would do my best to hasten the day when color of the skin would be no barrier to equal school rights." Nell spent many years eliminating these barriers. Barely out of school, Nell applauded the publication of William Lloyd Garrison's Liberator in 1831 because it unmasked the hydra-headed monster, colonization, and secured an audience for the colored man, who before could hardly utter his thoughts. Thus inspired, the young Bostonian immersed himself in the anti-slavery cause, making arrangements for meetings, gatherings, important and pertinent information, and sometimes addressing white audiences. Nell was always careful about preserving valuable facts and documents so that he grew in stature for his fidelity and carefulness. His legal training begun after graduation served him well. All right, so that was just a little bit about him, guys. All right, we're here to do his genealogy. This is what Wikipedia has about him, right? William Cooper Nell. You see, when he was born, abolitionist, journalist, publisher, author, and civil servant of Boston, who worked for the integration of schools and public facilities in the state, writing for abolitionist newspapers, The Liberator and the North Star. He helped publicize the anti-slavery cause. He published the North Star from 1847 to 1851, moving temporarily to Rochester, New York. He also helped found the New England Freedom Association in the early 1840s and later the Committee of Vigilance to aid refugee slaves. The Committee of Vigilance supported resistance to the Fugitive Slave Act of 1850, which had increased penalties against even citizens and free states who aided refugee slaves. Nell's short history, services of colored Americans in the wars of 1776 and 1812, and then 1851, he published that, and The Colored Patriots of the American Revolution, which is a book I have. We're going to definitely read it. I've had that for years, and I've just been meaning to read it. All to you guys, we're going to just go through it, right? That was written in 1855, were the first studies published about African Americans, right? So-called African in what? In the Revolutionary War. He wrote that. He is noted as the first so-called African American to serve in the Federal Civil Service, where he worked in the post office. All right. All these attributes, all these, achievements, and nobody really knows about him. You only know about Frederick Douglass for a reason. Before I go into the genealogy, I do want to mention that, one of the neighborhoods he lived in, all right, as it says here under Legacy and Honors, says the William Cooper Nell House. We're going to take a look. Now a private residence in Beacon Hill. Was designated as a National Historic Landmark in recognition for his contributions to the abolition movement. He lived at that home in the 1860s. Okay, Beacon Hill. Was he the only colored man in Beacon Hill? I'm going to show you guys, if you don't know the history, if you're not from Boston or New England, or you know anything about this area, or you've never heard about this place, Beacon Hill, today is a very prestige little, it's like a couple blocks, a couple streets. It's right in Boston Center, right next to the Capitol State Building, literally a mound. Beacon Hill is literally a mound. All right, Beacon Hill, just for reference, guys, just to learn a little bit about Boston first. If you guys didn't know, Boston, originally, it was called the Tri-Mound State, or anytime people approach Boston, they would see these three hills, so-called hills. I think they were really mounds, guys. I believe these were mounds, all right? So just some examples. Let me just go ahead and open this. So as you guys can see, the three hills, these are like all historical drawings. Look at the Indians. So you got three mounds or three hills, tri-mount or tri-mount straight. And then you got to check out this one, tri-mount. This is from 1630. It says tri-mount or Boston as it was. Boston as it was. Couple colored tribes with the canoe. And they're showing teepees. But we had houses and everything over on the Americas already. So you see the three mounds, huh? The three mounds in Boston. So here's another image. All right. That's how Boston looked before as it was. It don't look like that anymore, guys. For we shall be a city upon a hill. The eyes of all people are upon us, upon a hill, huh? So check it out. Tri-Mount, the tip of Shawmut Peninsula. Right, Tri-Mount. There was three mounds there, guys. There was three mounds they took down. Well, they left the one in Beacon Hill. Shawmut Tri-Mountain. Tri-Mountain or Tri-Mounds. Mound builders, huh? So here's another image or painting. We saw it earlier. Look at the Indians, the dark complexion Indians. Look at that. Tri-Mound. That's Boston right there. They had three mounds. They had three mounds, and I'm going to show you what they did to most of them. So you'll find images like this on the internet when you put cutting down Beacon Hill or cutting down Boston. You look for that, and you see, this is what they were doing. Yeah, they'll show like what looks like a mountain or hill, but it's most likely a mount, guys. That's what I'm saying. Right next to the Capitol building, they actually built the Capitol building on top of a mound. I'm going to show you. So it says here in the History of Massachusetts blog, History of the Boston Landfill Project, how Boston lost its hills. As anyone who has visited modern-day Boston, Massachusetts might be a little confused to hear it was once a small hilly peninsula less than 800 acres wide. The city is now a wide, flat landmass of 89 square miles. It took close to 100 years, but Bostonians managed to forever transform the landscape of the city during the Industrial Revolution in Massachusetts. Back in the 1620s, when Boston's first settler William Blackstone moved from a failed colony in Weymouth to what is now modern day Boston, it was a small peninsula named Shawmut by the Algonquin Native Americans that lived there. All right, and here goes the Tri-Mount painting by Samuel Lancaster. It says Shawmut was a peninsula of 789 acres, or 789, connected to the mainland by a narrow land bridge, making it practically an island. The peninsula had 5 hills, one hill that would be later be named Tri-Mount, meaning triple mountain, that consisted of 3 hills itself: Mount Vernon, Beacon Hill. This is what we're going to be talking about too. That's where he lived, in Beacon Hill, and Pemberton Hill. So, to me, again, guys, I believe these were mounds. And 2 other hills, the settlers later called Cobb's Hill and Fort Hill. These hills later played a large role in the Revolutionary War battles around Boston. By 1775, the city had built a long wharf about a half-mile long and also built a dam across the North Cove, creating a pond that colonists named Mill Pond. The dam was used to power grist mills and sawmills in the area, all right? So they're destroying all these local indigenous towns too, right? Shortly afterward, in the early 1800s, the city cut down Mount Vernon and used the soil to create the area surrounding Charles Street along the Charles River. By the early 1800s, Mill Pond became dirty and stagnant, and the mills there were no longer needed. The city allowed the Boston Mill Corporation to fill in Mill Pond and lay out new streets at the corporation's expense. In exchange, the corporation would be allowed to sell the land, plots, and keep all the proceeds. All right, so that says, look at this. To fill in the pond, workers cut down Beacon Hill and Cobb's Hill and moved the gravel to the pond using shovels, pickaxes, and horse-drawn wagons. The primitive tools, yeah, sure. you know, either way, Beacon Hill, it was cut down, so it was a lot bigger before, right? So they even got a mural there showing it. They're proud of what they did. They're proud of what they did. Now I want to show you a little bit of Beacon Hill. So Beacon Hill, again, is like a couple blocks, a couple streets inside of the city of Boston, like right in the downtown, almost right next to it. It's like all hills. You see, this is built on top of mountains. It's a beautiful place, very historic. It's, I would say, very upscale. You know, rich people live there, very prominent, mostly white today. But what I'm trying to tell you guys is that this beautiful place that is now in the city of Boston, this used to be a colored town. This was all colored folks. I'm going to show you the census. I'm going to show you he lived there, right? Beacon Hill, this beautiful place right here. All right, so Beacon Hill, this, again, beautiful place right here in the middle of Boston. This was a colored neighborhood. And even though we're not doing a video specifically about the black folks that live here, but we are kind of doing one of them and some of the people living here, because, you know, it's going to come out in census. There is a story that I came across, you know, like 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. There was a brother, he told me, hey, I'm the descendant of the black families that lived in Beacon Hill, and then they ended up in Franklin Field in Dorchester, guys. That's the hood, that's projects, Franklin Field projects. You know, he's saying his people, he had the oral tradition. They were coming from Beacon Hill right here. And I don't know what happened. You know, they got disfranchised, they got kicked out, they got too expensive, gentrification, whatever. I don't know, throughout the years, you know, relocation by force, whatever. And they ended up in projects, in the hoods and the ghettos of Boston, Dorchester, right? So, hey, brother, if you're listening right now, you know, hit me up, man, so we can do the video, so we can do the story, make it a little easier for me, even though I'm gonna, you know, try to do it on my own. But, you know, little by little, because you know how they add the African hijack and all that. But as you guys can see on this image, it says Black Heritage Trail. Like, it goes right through here. And there's a supposed, you know, African meeting house and all that. You know, you gotta dodge the hijack. But yeah, again, this started with colored folks, guys. And you already know about the whole history before the 1800s. We've gone over it. We've seen how much history has been whitewashed. And today we're gonna show that it's no different. You're gonna see it in his genealogy. You know, the way Our history is being told is false. And when you do genealogies like this today, you're going to see that it's telling a whole different story. So we're in the West End Museum .org website. A little bit out here on William Cooper Nell. So we were just learning about Beacon Hill, right? So I told you what it looks like today and how it's an upscale neighborhood and it's very one-sided. It says here that William Cooper Nell was born December 20, 1816 to William Guillaume Nell and Louisa Marshall, free so-called colored folks who lived at 64 Kendall Street on the north slope of Beacon Hill. All right, so Beacon Hill, I just showed you. This is, again, what they were living. So-called free blacks, free colored folks. It says William Cooper's father was originally from the free black community of Charleston, South Carolina, as an apprentice, not a slave, to tailor and hotel owner Jehu Jones. So I did a little digging on Jehu Jones, and he's a so-called black man. Jehu Jones Jr. in Black Pass was a free black entrepreneur in Charleston, South Carolina, most well known for his owning the Jones Hotel. He was born in 1769 as a slave, supposedly, right, to Christopher Rogers, a tailor, and grew up learning his master's trade. So more like an apprentice. Just like it told us about William's dad, William Guillaume Nell, as an apprentice to a tailor. The same thing. And he learned it from somebody too, Jehu Jones. He's all colored, so-called black folks. Because if you want to say he's a slave, then you got to say everybody's a slave then. When they're just apprentices, they're learning a trade, tailor. They had an indenture for that too. They would be freed. Yeah, they had to work for this person. And while they worked, they learned the trade. So it says he left Charleston during the War of 1812 and ended up in Boston, marrying Marshall, a resident of Brooklyn, in 1816. At 12 years old, William Cooper Nell attended the African Meeting House School. All right, that's the Haja. You see why they name it African. We're going to see if we see any so-called Africans in the family. We're going to actually do William Nell's, as much as we can, because there's really not much you guys are going to see. There's as much as they tell you that his dad's from Charleston, and this is just something new I was able to find. And he worked as an apprentice to this guy. So eventually I can probably lead or follow this lead, because he is popular, Mr. Jehu Jones, right? As it says here. Jehu Jones and the South Carolina Encyclopedia, free black entrepreneur. Jones belonged to Christopher Rogers, a tailor. Under Rogers, he learned the tailoring trade, so apprenticeship, right? Becoming provincial in his own right. In 1802, Jones Bryan. So his son became the first Lutheran pastor. This is Jehu Jones Jr. His son was a Lutheran minister who founded one of the first African-American Lutheran congregations. You see what's going on? Who these people are, says Jones was born enslaved in Charleston, South Carolina, and named after his father, Jehu Jones. You see, his father wasn't a slave owner. That's his dad. This is a black folks too. So what you mean? You see how they're telling the story? As a tailor who bought his freedom, man, yeah, his indentureship was over. Everybody had to do it. But because of his mixed race ancestry, Jehu Jones was able to join Charleston's relatively privileged model. So that's the son. So supposed to be mixed, but his dad is a so-called black man too. Jehu Jones Sr. is the same one right here from 1769. Jehu Jones Sr. was a free black entrepreneur. You see, that's the hijack. That's his son. He took the trade. He went through the apprenticeship. You get what I'm saying? So just wanted to show you that his family were living in Beacon Hill. You see, that's all the history we know of his dad coming from Charleston. I wasn't able to find it. I'll show you the tree. And then his mom, also working. I got her parents, but can't get much from there. These are all free people. All free people. Does not indicate these people were ever slaves. So real quick, this is the William C. Nell House, now a private residence, was a boarding home located in 3 Smith Court in the Beacon Hill neighborhood of Boston, Massachusetts, opposite the former African Meeting House, so-called African. Now the Museum of African American History. Oh, now it's a museum about Africans. But there's no Africans here. It is one of the Smith Court residences of the Black Heritage Trail of the Boston African American National Historic Site walking tours. All right, that's the hijack. Beacon Hill, again, was a neighborhood. It's a colored neighborhood, right? It says Historic Resource Study, Boston African American National Historic Sites. Okay, by Catherine Grover, Janine V. De Silva. And here is all what's in this. So site of David Walker House. These are all black folks again. Joy Street, John T. Hilton. Hilton, these are black folks. Joy Street, Robert Roberts House, Joy Street, George Putnam and Robert Johnson. Site of Coffin Pitts House in Joy Street. James Scott, William C. Nell's house, right in Smith Court. George Washington House in Smith Court. Joseph Scarlett Tennant House, Smith Court. Holmes Alley House, Smith Court. These are all right there in Beacon Hill area and surrounding area. William Henry, Joseph Scarlett House, Smith Court. And then the African Meeting House, Smith Court. At Bill Smith, Smith School, Joy Street. George Middleton, Louis Glapian House, Pinckney Street. Second side of a home for age-colored women, Myrtle Street. Second John P. Coburn House, Phillip Street. Site of Henry L. Tacker House, Phillip Street. First John P. Coburn House on Coburn Court. Site of 12 Baptist Church on Phillip Street. All right. Again, this was a black neighborhood, so-called black. Louis Hayden House, 66 Phillip Street. Site of John Street, Rock House, 8183 Phillip Street. Thomas Paul House, West Sutter Street. Site of a John A. Andrew House, Charles Street. And then says Charles Street Meeting House, Charles Street AME Church. Okay. They had it all there. 6276 Charles Street. John C. J. Smith House, Pinckney Street. George and Susan Hiller's house in Pinckney Street, and Charles Sumner House in Hancock Street. Okay, Beacon Hill. And Beacon Hill, right? And then you can talk, and it has a whole thing about him. All right, if you're interested. So I just want to point out something, a very big detail, so people don't conjecture about William's dad, William Guillaume Nell, and who he was basically supposedly under, right? So people don't think it's just slave. And remember, that's a so-called black man that he's working for. And William Cooper Nell confirms here in his own book the status of his dad, the relationship with Jehu Jones. This is the book, The Colored Patriots of the American Revolution, with sketches of several distinguished colored persons, to which is added a brief survey of the condition and prospects of colored Americans by William C. Nell. Okay, this is from 1855. This is written by himself, right? So what does he say about his dad? It says that under Mr. Jones, right, he says, Mr. Jones often exerted his influence and contributed his means to redeem persons from slavery. For several years, he carried on an extensive fashionable tailoring establishment, and among his customers were the wealthiest citizens of Charleston. Remember, guys, that Charleston was a free person of color town. It always was. He had a large number of apprentices, among whom was my father, William G. Nell, who served 7 years and 6 months. He had a contract. It's not slavery, apprenticeship. Many of these apprenticeships were turned into slavery when they tell us the story, because they want to disfranchise black folks in their history. They want to turn them all into slaves. So remember, Mr. Jones is not a white man. He's also a so-called black man, right? As it told us already, Mr. Jones, a free black entrepreneur from Charleston, South Carolina, black past, right? Here it talks a little bit of the trouble that his son went through, which I read a lot while I was researching them. He had left to the north, and there was some kind of law where you couldn't return to the South if you were so-called free black, They wanted to try to whiten it, right? They were trying to whiten it because, again, Charleston was a free person of color black town, so-called black. Now it says here, Jehu, a son of Mr. Jones, so this is Junior, visited the north and was not allowed to return home. The details of this case are similar to hundreds of others and prove that the right of locomotion is denied in the South to free colored persons from the North, even though they are native-born Southerners. To follow an extract from South Carolina state documents is conclusive evidence on this point. So this is what he's quoting, so you guys can see. So you see, they were disfranchising black folks from even returning to their own home and all that, making it illegal. And that's a form of ethnic cleansing and whitewashing a history and replacing the population. Okay? Definitely one way to do that. There's only one outcome after you do that, right? So I just wanted to show all this so we don't have no conjectures. Okay, we're going to go to the tree. All right, so here in the tree again, we're gonna do both sides. I'm gonna show you why. And I'm glad I was able to do his wife's side, because and I'm gonna do a lot of explaining. William's side, all we got is his parents. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and explain how difficult it is really to find out any more about his parents. I'm gonna show you, but he was born again in Boston, 1816. Passed away 1874, 1870 census. Listed as mulatto here. You guys see in Boston. Okay, again, resident of Beacon Hill. Here he is, listed as colored. Father William G. Nell and Louisa Marshall. All right, so we definitely know those are his parents, and Francis, the wife. Same record, just a different entry. All right, William G. Nell, dad, Louisa Marshall, and Francis C. Ames, colored man. So this would be his dad, William Guion Nell, right? Guion. He's actually coming from Charleston, South Carolina. That is what most of the stories say about his dad. As I said in this website right here, the West End Museum, William Cooper's father was originally from the free black community of Charleston, South Carolina, as an apprentice to Taylor, not a slave, to Jehu Jones, remember? Another black man. So that whole history right there needs to be investigated more. Is Jehu Jones really his dad? Could he have taken his mom's last name? Things like that. But we are not able to verify that. But we do know that he's from South Carolina. Here's a 1790 census. William Neal in Charleston. Look, in Charleston. He's still over there. Free, right? Free white, so-called free white. I want you guys to see how they turn people. These are all colored folks, right? And look how they're calling him free white. This is what I want to show you. Free white because he owned land, status, all right? And 1820, same thing. William Neal, now in Boston, free colored. Free colored, right? Free colored. Free colored. He went from free white to free colored, 1830. William G. Nell, or Nell, yeah, free colored. Okay. 1840, same thing. Free colored, 1840 census. William G. Nell, now living in Boston. So that very first one, 1790, had him still in Charleston. Okay. Here he is listed as a tailor. That's definitely him in Boston tax records. So these are the kind of image records we have here. Here is an advertisement for him in a newspaper from 1841. The Liberator, William G. Nell, Taylor, Enclosed Desert, is now located at number 62. So these are people well off, people with money, right? His dad. So guys, trust me. I try to search. I hit William. I hit search. I searched under his name to see what I can find in South Carolina. I wasn't really able to find anything in South Carolina, just more tax records from Boston. Anything living in Boston, that's what I'm finding. But for his parents, nothing like that. Only lead we have is that he was an apprentice to that guy, Jehu Jones. So following that eventually might lead me to his family, but I can't even find anything on that. So we are still investigating that. But I did study some things, right? So we know that his middle name is Guion. I want to show you something about Guion. And we already know about South Carolina, right? Remember, South Carolina was a haven for Huguenots. A lot of Huguenots, French Huguenots, ended up in South Carolina. I like to remind everybody something. So in the book History of the Conquest of Spain by the Arab Moors, right? There's a book from the 1800s that says that it has been asserted that when the Moors were driven out, right? Driven out by who? By the Catholics, not by white folks, by Catholics. Catholics included black folks too. So when the Catholics had their Inquisition, they went after Sephardic Jews and the Muslim Moors, right? In Spain and Portugal. So it has been asserted, it says here, that when the Moors were driven out, thousands took refuge in the south of France, who afterwards, abhorring the Roman Catholic persecutions, became Huguenots. They became Huguenots. What Moors? Moorish blood. Moors became Huguenots, and that of these many emigrated at a later date to South Carolina. They ended up in South Carolina. You see, I ain't making this up. And we got the whole breakdown. We got a bunch of videos on Huguenots, the whole history and its relation to South Carolina. And especially Charleston. Charleston, we know historically always has been a free person of color, free colored town. literally back in the 1700s, 1600s, even 1800s, until they started, amalgamating with, people started replacing others, yeah, moving in. But in general, free people of color, just like his dad, William Guillaume Nell, a free so-called black, right? 1790 free person, it says, from the free black community of Charleston, South Carolina, an apprentice, right? That's all they know about him. So I just want to show you, right, that Guillaume is an actual surname. So he was probably carrying a family name, Guillaume. And remember, that's the middle name of William Cooper Nell's dad, Guillaume. William Guillaume. He's coming from South Carolina, remember. It's coming from South Carolina. Guillaume happens to be a Huguenot family last name, descendants of Louis Guillaume, Huguenot of La Rochelle, France, and New Rochelle. It's actually a very popular name there, Guillaume. So that's a whole book, Descendants of Him. Then we have another one here, A French Huguenot Legacy, a biography of the Guillaume Huguenots by Deborah Guillaume. So she should know. It says notes from the Knights Templar to serving the militia under George Washington. All right, Huguenots serving under George Washington. All right, Moors. The Huguenots have been keepers of the faith, fighters of freedom, and left their mark on history. The Huguenots were massacred in France in the 7th. Okay, so we got the whole breakdown, right? It says follow the journey of the Guillaumes and their descendants in a true French-American saga. This text will be of particular interest to genealogists. All right, so that's another book I'm going to try to look for. You guys, I got future videos. This is what I'm saying, right? So I'm trying to show you. I'm going to investigate, try to find out why his dad is supposed to be involved in as an abolitionist leader as well, and how come nobody knows his parents? These are free people, so you can't use the excuses because they were slaves, their records were destroyed. Now these people are free, so somebody definitely knows. Somebody's gatekeeping, and you see Guillaume. That goes back to Huguenots. He is coming from South Carolina, where Huguenots were. These are black folks, black French Europeans, guys. All right. So I just want to show you. And then I did also find, when it comes to the Nell, right? The Nell last name, that's German in general. Let me just read here. It says the surname Nell was first found in Austria, where the name Nell became noted for its many branches in the region. Each house acquiring its status and influence, which has envied. Okay, so you see, and there's a different spellings. So I did find this book here, The Nell Family in the United States by Reverend Raymond Boyle Need. This might lead me to his family. It says here on page 29, this is, I guess, chapter 4, Migration to the United States. On August 22nd, 1802, Henry Nell and Charles Nell landed at Baltimore, Maryland. They were the second and third sons, respectively, of Carnell, who lived at Hesse Darmstadt. Carnell and 5 children. Frederick Nell died unmarried. Henry Nell, who emigrated to the United States and became the progenitor of the Nell family, okay? Charles Nell, who came with Henry to the United States and later settled in Alberta, Canada. William Nell, look, there's even a William Nell. Look how they still carrying the name, guys. William Nell. William Nell, that's even one of the progenitors of the Nells of the Americas, guys, was a William Nell. Look how somebody's still carrying the name, right? And all the way to his son, William Nell Cooper, right? The abolitionist. So William Nell, of whom nothing is known. They don't know anything about William Nell. Oh, what happened to his descendants? Huh, you see? Except that he became a fine metal worker. All right. So, so they're letting you know they're coming from Germany. So I'm going to follow all these leads, but I just wanted to show you and also remind you what Benjamin Franklin said about Germans from this time. Remember what Benjamin Franklin said about the Germans. Benjamin Franklin said in his writing, Observations Concerning the Increase of Mankind, People in the Countries by Benjamin Franklin in 1755, he said that the whole world was swarthy or melanated or dark complexion. He says the number of purely white people in the world is proportionally very small. All Africa is black or tawny, right? Asia chiefly tawny. America, exclusive of its newcomers, wholly so. Wholly what? Black or tawny. And in Europe, the Spaniards, Italians, French, the Russians, the Swedes are generally of what we call swarthy complexion, as are the Germans also, okay? Swarthy. The Germans also. Like I said, the Germans, right? The Nells, are a German family. There's even a William Nell progenitor, right? As I'm showing you here, Nell, German family. Just like Benjamin Franklin was saying, they were swarthy complexion. The Germans, swarthy complexion. All right, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so just wanted to say that, because I wasn't able to go any farther. And the same thing with his wife or his mom, Louisa Marshall. Seems to have been born in Massachusetts, and he met her husband, William Guillaume Nell, from South Carolina, in Brookline, Mass, I believe. All right, here are some records. Lisa Mel, here's the child, right? Death records. She's listed as the parent. Here's a death record, her grave index. Okay. This one has her being born in Shrewsbury, Lisa Marshall. That's like a birth record for their son, William Cooper Nell. So Lisa Marshall got her born about 1792, Shrewsbury, as it says in the birth record of her son, and her death, right? Again, I found a Louisa Marshall about the same year, born in Tewksbury, Mass. And she had a whole different husband, Joel Blanchard. And so I don't know if that's her, but her parents were Joel and something else more. The mom had a Moore last name and all that. So that could be her, but I wasn't sure. I didn't add that. I do want to show you that though, right here. So it's this one right here. As you guys can see, about 1792, born in Tewksbury, Mass, not Shrewsbury. Father Joel Marshall and Ann Moore. So I don't know if that's her. That could be a whole other Marshall family. I wasn't sure. I don't see no link. Because again, this Lewis Marshall was married to a Joel Blanchard. She had a whole other family. This one was born in Tewksbury, and we clearly got the records stating that our Louisa Marshall was born in Shrewsbury, the mom of William C. Nell, right? All right. So I think there is a Marshall family in Billerica, Massachusetts, but I wasn't able to link it up to Shrewsbury, Tewksbury yet. So it's like I didn't want to go and reach. So I don't really know anything about these people. It's kind of weird that Williams Paris is famous person, and his dad being famous as well, coming from a free black community too in South Carolina, doesn't have any history. It's like almost they don't want you to know because it's going to debunk all their so-called African slave stories and that all Europeans were white. That's why, guys. But luckily, I was like, let me try his wife. Right. Again, these are people who live in Beacon Hill. She's also colored. She was born in New Hampshire, right? In Nashua, Hillsborough, New Hampshire. And I'm like, wow. So like this family from New Hampshire, but her people before that, have a history in Massachusetts as well. But anyways, she ended up in Boston, right? And then went back to Nashua. But we're gonna get a little bit of her and her family. We're gonna go line by line because it's very extensive, guys. And I'm gonna show you what I found. So Francis Ann Ames as his wife, okay. William Cooper Nels. So he was born in Nashua, New Hampshire, passed away in 1895. Over there too, here's an 1850 census with her, listing her 6 years old. She's mulatto, all right, listing her as mulatto. You see her dad, Philip and Lucy, all right, Philip and Lucy and all her siblings. And the father and mom, Philip and Lucy, all listed as mulatto as well. Everybody's mulatto. Same with the 1860 census. Here she's 16, mulatto, birthplace New Hampshire, living in Nashua. You see, this is them, Philip and Lucy. Okay. And here's a death record. And listing, right? Her dad, Philip O. Ames, and Lucy B. It says Doak, but it's actually Drake. Her mom's maiden name is Drake. Yeah, like Francis Drake, right? So again, died in Nashua, born in Nashua. Those are her parents for sure. So real quick, I'm going to go up her dad's line, right? The Ames side first. And we got Peter Ames and Martha Patty Clark. All right, so we're going to go into Phillips. So I want to show you something crazy here that they always do. You guys probably might see this in your genealogy, but remember that in 1850 and 1860, him and his family, everybody was being labeled mulatto, right? Philip O. Ames, Nashua, Hillsborough, New Hampshire, right? Look what happened in 1870. He either started passing for white or they just put white without asking because he might have been light. Philip O. Ames, Nashua, Hillsborough, New Hampshire, so-called white. Barber, yep, that's him. And his wife Lucy, look, and all the kids. Guys, they making all these people white all of a sudden. Now let's go into the census record. And as you can see, he's actually listed as mulatto and it says white. They messed up or they did that on purpose, you see? Everybody's listed as mulatto still. All right. M. In 1880, still mulatto. Natural Hillsborough, New Hampshire. All right. Barber, that's him. Here is a death dice interment record for Phillips, born about 18 in Andover. They messed up. They put me to Andover, Mass. We're talking about Andover, Mass. Yeah, I'll show you. So we got the dad listed as Peter and the mom, Martha Clark. You see, Martha Clark. That's her maiden name, Clark. All right, passed away 481 Nashua. Here's him with his wife Lucy and Francis, the child in her birth or death record. Here is another death record with Philip and confirming the parents again and again. Andover, they put MS as Massachusetts, though. They messed up because they can't read the writing. It says MA. And here goes Peter and Martha again, right? Martha Clark, remember. But Martha went by Patty as well. So Martha, Patricia, Clark, or Martha, Patty, or just Patty. I was able to find that out. Okay. Because it's the same people, no different husbands. So again, Philip, the son of Peter Ames and Martha Patty Clark. And when it came to on the Ames side, I did find his dad. All right, we're gonna continue on that side real quick before I continue. So we're gonna go into Peter Ames from Andover, Merrimack, New Hampshire. Actually, Massachusetts. They messed up here. So again, on the Ames side, we got Peter Ames. Remember, these are all colored folks, guys. Born about 1789, passed away about 1823. Here is a marriage record with Martha or Patty Clark. You see, Martha Clark or Patty Clark and Andover. Yeah, that's them. Here's another one, Peter Ames and Patty Clark. Peter and Martha. Martha is Patty. Here's Patty Clark, Andover, marriage 1809. Here is Peter's birth record and index. So Peter born, here's a birth index listing the parents' father first name Prince and mother Eunice. We're gonna read about Eunice, but you guys are gonna see it's actually from another side. You see what I'm talking about. And then we got more here with Peter and Patty or Martha. Just want to go into this record. This is where Philip, the son, is listed here with the parents. I want to show you Peter. And it says maiden name of mother, Martha Clark. So that's why I want to show you that Patty and Martha are the same. They have the same maiden name. It's the same person. It's just she went as Patty. Maybe that could be her middle name or her first name, Patricia Martha or Martha Patricia or something like that, right? And but this seems to be the same person. They have the same kids. All right, literally. So again, Peter Ames, married to Martha Patty Clark, the dad of Philip. All right. And the grandparents of Francis, the wife of William Cooper Nell. So you guys know where I'm at. We're going to go up the Ames line. And we had, again, Prince Alexander Ames and Eunice Bridges Russ Ames, right? So real quick, I'm going to go into Eunice Bridges Russ Ames. And right away, we got some, daughters of the American Revolution. Check it out. Eunice Russ, spouse Prince Ames, female Eunice, child, that's the child. It has the same name. I'm going to tell you about her. The child, she kind of got a little famous. Here's Eunice Russ, that's her last name, maiden name, Roos. Check out Con drop with the Roos drop. Eunice Roos, married 1784, Andover. Yeah, these are the same people, Prince Ames, right? Remember, these are all colored folks. Right? So far, nobody was saying anything about these people being white. Francis people, nobody has said so far that, anybody's white or anything like that. Here is Eunice Roos, I guess, birth index. It says birthplace Andover, Massachusetts. And this is her dad, Peter Bridges Roos and Deborah Roos. Actually, the Roos is the mom's maiden name. So it's just Peter Bridges and Deborah Roos. Those are her parents, all right? They carry a lot of history, these people. I'm going to show you. Here she is again, Eunice. And so we got a lot of records for her. Just to show a couple more. Mother's name, Deborah, father, Peter Bridges. All right, they put it backwards there. Now, I just want to talk about real quick an article I found in obituary regarding Peter Ames' sibling, Eunice Ruth Ames Davis Jr. Literally, she's named after her mom, Eunice Russ Ames, right? So she has a little famous story. I'm going to read an obituary for her, right? And this is a great example of how family stories somehow could end up being wrong, not wrong, but being assigned to the wrong person in this case. Okay. So it says here, was 100 years old. They're talking about the daughter, right? Eunice Ross Ames Davis, the daughter. Dedham's oldest resident died yesterday afternoon of old age at her home on Washington Street. She was the daughter of Prince and Eunice Russ Ames and was born in the South Parish, Andover, October 26, 1800, making her at time of death 100 years and 6 months of age. Her father served during the Revolutionary War in the 23rd Regiment. All right. Her father was who? Prince, right? Prince was a Revolutionary War veteran, right? So doesn't this make sense so far? Like there's a lot of, it seems to be, you're going to see, especially in her family, a lot of people fought in the Revolutionary War. She is the wife of William Cooper Nell. Remember that we're talking about Francis' ancestors here, right? She married William Cooper Nell, who wrote that book, Colored Patriots of the United States or the American Revolutionary War. So he had a lot of context, a lot of history to tell. He had a lot of experience from his wife and his own family, right? Most likely, people participating in the Revolutionary War. That's why he wrote a book like that. That's why these colored folks wrote books like this, guys, because they knew their family history, is what I'm trying to say, right? So her dad, Prince Ames, was in the Revolutionary War in the 23rd Regiment. He took part in the battles of Lexington, Concord, and Bunker Hill, very famous American Revolutionary War battles, guys. And for his valiant services in the last named engagement, received special recognition from General Washington himself. All right, George Washington, the swarthy man, and his officers. Now listen to what it says here about her mother, right? It says her mother was a full-blooded Narragansett Indian. Huh? Oh, really? She was the mother of 3 children, none of whom survived her. Really? That's not true, guys. They did survive. Miss Davis had the distinction of being I think this is the daughter, so maybe the daughter's children didn't survive. So Miss Davis had the distinction of being the only surviving member of the Women's Anti-Slavery Board of Boston and the oldest female abolitionist in the United States. She was a witness of the mobbing of William Lloyd Garrison, assisted at the memorable reception of Frederick Douglass, all right, and was present at all the notable anti-slavery gatherings in Boston. She was a real daughter of the American Revolution and was an honorary member of the Old South Chapter, DAR of Boston, or Daughters of the American Revolution. Her number in the registry of the National Society of DAR was 16,263. She was the oldest member of the Jamaica Plain House Baptist Church. She was twice married, and first to Robert Ames and in 1884 to John Davis. She is survived by 8 grandchildren, with one of whom, Mrs. Mary Howard Davis, she had resided for many years. Okay. Now, guys, when I first read this, I was like, wow. And I actually read this with a live members audience. I was doing this with the members live while we were doing live investigation. Like this is like last week. And we read into this, and I was like, "Wow, I'm gonna definitely try to prove that. I'm gonna do her genealogy right now. That's gonna be so exciting." And well, I'll show you how it went. Right now, before I continue with her genealogy, I want to just show you. This is supposed to be her right here. Okay, Davis, abolitionist. All right, Eunice Russ Ames Davis was the most famous resident of Dedham during the first decade. Now, remember, these people will be considered black folks. It says most newspapers highlighted Eunice Russ Ames Davis' Narragansett ancestry. Listen, while ignoring her Penobscot and black, so-called black ancestry, right? So remember, they said her mom was a full-blood Indian Narragansett. We're gonna verify that. All right. So look, this is what she looked like. They're saying she has black in her and Indian, right? This is what she looked like, though. I just want to show you guys. All right. So again, this is her tree right here. That's her husband, Robert Ames. She also married an Ames. Okay. So her dad is an Ames. We're going to get to that. We're going to go up the Narragansett line, supposedly, right? She's supposed to be full-blooded, meaning this lady's supposed to be full-blooded, right? So she should have Indian parents, right? But that's not the case, guys. All right. So again, we got Peter Bridges. She's supposed to be a full-blooded Indian, right? But when I did her genealogy, I found out she's not just Indian, right? Especially on her mom's side. I'm going to show you guys her mom's side. Remember, she's supposed to have black. If Eunice, the daughter, is supposed to have black ancestry, from whom then? Which one of her parents is the so-called black, right? Which one is it? But they're going to try to probably say it's the dad's. They say he was an apprentice or a so-called slave or a servant in the Revolutionary War to this guy, Benjamin. I'm going to read something I read there about him possibly being an adopted son. Literally could be his dad. Anyways, we're going to go up Eunice's side because it's supposed to be Narragansett here, right? It's supposed to be Narragansett somewhere here, right? All right, so her dad is Peter Almanac Bridges. I got his parents, Abraham Bridges, 1719, and Ditto. We're going to read about that, all right? But so remember, full-blood Narragansett, okay? So are these people supposed to be all Narragansetts right here? They weren't. They're not. They're really not. I'm going to show you, okay? So Deborah Russ, don't get mad at me right now, though, guys. Just give me I'll show you where the Indian side is coming from. They just messed up on the obituary, okay? So Deborah Roos is her mom. She comes from the Roos family, right? When you go up this Roos family, I just want to show you first the records. So here is Deborah Roos, right? Andover. And this is her father, John and Priscilla. All right, I got all the info here, so I'm able to verify the parents. I found a lot of records, right? Her mom's maiden name is Priscilla Farnham. She's a Farnham, she's a Roos and a Farnham. Here she is, Deborah Roos and Peter Bridges, her husband, and Janice Roos, one of the childs. So we go up the Roos line and the Farnham line, right? And these are their parents. So going into John Roos. But when it came to John Russ's parents, other family trees had Thomas Russ and Anne Farnham, and that's what also I was getting as potential parents. It seems this was very historical. And before I show you the rest, I want to show you that even though I wasn't specifically able to find a record connecting John to these people, I actually found time better, which was a whole genealogical book on the Russ family. So this is the early records of the Roos family of Andover, literally where we are right now, the Andover, Massachusetts family, compiled by Charlotte Helen Abbott, okay? And it says here that the Roos family of Andover, progenitor is John Roos and his wife Margaret. They appear first, according to my notes, in 1645 when they come from Dover, or somewhere in England. Savage thinks that they were in Newbury in 1635, and that's in Massachusetts, and had a son, probably John. So John Jr. I'm going to show you that this is literally in the tree, guys. Born in 1640. Probably that was the son of John, born June 24th, 1641, called 19 in 1661. All right? But it keeps going. So John number 2 married Deborah Osgood. Right, you see where that name Deborah is coming from. That was from a progenitor of Deborah, ancestor. And she was in Osgood, born 1640, daughter of Christopher Osgood of Newbury and his wife, Margaret Fowler. I'm going to show you all these people, right? I'm going to keep going down so you guys can see where we meet with the people we are at right now. When it comes to John number 2, or John Jr., and Deborah Osgood, this is their children, right? You got Mary, you got Sarah, you got Margaret, you got Jonathan, and you got Thomas, right? This is the one I just showed you. So Thomas, who married Anne Farnham, right? I'm going to show you the tree now. See? John's parents is Thomas and Anne Farnham, right? And remember, Thomas is the son of John II, who lived in Newbury, as it said, who married Deborah Osgood, just like I found here, right? The daughter of Thomas Osgood and Margaret Fowler, both coming from England, so I don't have to go further on that line, right? The Osgoods go to England, and then John and his dad, John Russ Sr., the very first one, right, coming from England, and his wife, Margaret Roos, as well, coming from England, right? So you see, I have this I'm able to verify this, guys. I'm literally able to verify this. Now I want to show you a little bit more. So you see Abigail, Phoebe, Joshua, Hezekiah, all these people are on the tree. These are the siblings. Look, Deborah, John Russ. Look right here. Thomas, the siblings. Here we go. Hezekiah, Joseph, Hezekiah, Joshua, Phoebe. They're all here. Abigail. I got even more, right? They're all here. I got that. I know how to do the genealogy thing, man. And again, look where this goes down to. So when it comes to, they're saying the mom was a full-blood Indian. It's her, right? It's supposed to be a full-blood Narragansett. You see that it's not so true. Where is the Indian coming from? Well, let's keep going, though, right? We still got a couple lines to check. So we got the Farnhams. Anne Farnham, I also verified her dad is Ephraim or John Ephraim Farnham. Was also in Massachusetts in 1640. And his people, his dad Varnum Ralph coming from England, Dr. Farnham, his mom Alice Harris coming from England, right? So on that Farnham side, that's where it ends up. This is all historical. All this stuff can be verified. Anne's mom, Rebecca Kent, right? Born in Newbury, Massachusetts. Her dad, Stephen Kent, coming out of England. Look, and I haven't even done her. Her mom, watch, is going to come up right here. Again, this is all historical stuff, right? And so her mom is Marjorie Ann Norris. Let's see where her mom is from. This is something I'm adding right now because, again, the tree is extensive, guys. I have to like go through so many hints. So it's confirming the dad coming from England, the mom also coming from England. All right, so that's where that line ends up. Here goes Anne. All right, we're going to hit save. So as you guys can see, these lines are going to Europe. And this is, you can verify all this. And again, it's conjecture to say that all these people are, oh, these are all white folks. When did it turn white? Remember, there's supposed to be black blood here and all this other, and Indians, right? So when did it turn white? Where does it say anything about slaves or having a slave child named Deborah? All right. So going up the Farnham, oh, we already got that, right? Ralph, we got that one. And then Holt. So Priscilla, okay, so there's another Farnham line. That's what I wanted to show. So yeah, we got Ralph and Hazel. That's the same family. And then we got Priscilla Holt. Right, look at all the families. It's all historic, right? 1600s. Her dad, James Holt, living in Andover, still 1650 is when he was born. His parents, Nicholas Holt, coming from England. And then up in Andover, you see. And James Holt's mom is Elizabeth Ashley Short, also coming from England. Okay, as you guys can see. And then his wife, Hannah Allen, born in Andover, 1650s. Her parents, Andrew Allen, coming from England. And her mom, Faith Ingalls, also coming from England, guys. So I just wanted to show you that, you know, because a lot of people think I might just be making up stuff. You can verify all this stuff. I showed you that I have, you know, the family history right here, literally listing it. I'm going to show you that Deborah's in here. So when we go to Tom and Bruce and wife Anne Farnham, it tells us they had all these children. We had Tom, Annie, John, William, Hezekiah, right? And here's Deborah, right? Here's Deborah, born 1744. It says, after mother's return and father's death, Iran appoints guardian 1762. So Priscilla was dead. Then Deborah married Almanac. Listen, she married who? Almanac, a full-blood Narragansett Indian. Oh, so you see, wait a minute. So it wasn't the mom who was a full-blood. It was actually the dad of Eunice who was a full-blood, supposedly, right? An Indian ceremony in camp of Penobscot or Mashpee. He was evidently bound out here until of age. He was bound out. He was like an indentured servant. You mean like a slave? So the Indian, right? They had a daughter named Eunice. So this is the one she was claiming Indian ancestry, black ancestry, all that, right? The abolitionist, the one I just showed you the image of, right? So we're talking about Deborah, born 1744. Let's go back down. You see, Deborah Roos, born 1744. The mom of Eunice Bridges. And the mom of the other Eunice, who was the famous one, right? So just to have reference, they're saying that Deborah married a full-blooded Indian. It wasn't on the mom's side. They were trying to say, guys, in that newspaper article that Eunice, this lady was a full-blooded Narragansett. And we already went up her mom's side and saw that literally it went all back to Europe. I just wanted to verify that. I wanted to show you. That doesn't mean it was white folks. That could have been black Europeans there too. All right. It's inconclusive to say those are all white folks. So we close that line and we go into the Bridges line, right? This is supposed to be Peter Almanac Bridges, right? So the funny thing is, after I did all that, right, it took me so long, like a day and a half, to figure out there was no Indians on that side. I was like a little disappointed. Then I found this, then I found this, and I was like, oh, it's on the dad, and I should have known better because at this point I didn't have any parents for Peter. I didn't have any parents for Peter, so I was like, oh, no wonder I was getting no hints or anything like that. So I just want to show you what I had. Again, Peter Bridges and Deborah, right? And Eunice, the daughter. So that is her parents. Now, I eventually Googled Peter Almanac Bridges, Penobscot Indian, and I found a couple things here, right? I just want to show you. So I found this Indian individual detail says he was a Narragansett Indian. Look, Peter Bridges. He was a Narragansett Indian who went by the name Peter Bridges. He and Deborah were married in an Indian ceremony. So eventually, that's from literally they got that from this. This is where I found this. Let me show you. So you see this link right here, guys? That's how I found this PDF. So I was like still a little confused, right? Here's another little article from the anti-slavery in Essex County, right? It says Peter Almanac Bridges and Kate Phelps, part 1. It says in this piece, I'll begin to sketch the life stories of Peter Almanac Bridges and Kate Phelps, brother and sister freedom seekers from Andover, Massachusetts. Their parents were enslaved. You see what they're saying, though, right? They're trying to make these people into so-called black folks, but they're going to tell you they're Indians, too. It says their parents were enslaved and they were born enslaved, but in adulthood, they both challenged their enslavement in court, back when Massachusetts was still a British colony. Peter and Kate won their freedom in court 7 years before the Declaration of Independence was even penned. Part 1 will cover their background and early lives. Part 2 will cover their freedom suits in 1768 to 69 and their lives after winning their freedom. The anti-slavery movement in Andover did not suddenly emerge from nowhere, and in 1830 the movement arose long before amongst enslaved Native Americans. There we go again, another record letting you know American Indians were being enslaved. So what Africans are they enslaved? They have enslaving all these Indians I've been showing you in so many different cases, right? And then it says Africans. What Africans? As soon as white colonists began enslaving them, this original antis. Okay, so let's get to the juicy part. So here's her picture again, right? Eunice, this is the daughter of Eunice and Peter, right? So no images of either Peter or Kate appear in records, but Peter's granddaughter, Eunice Russ Davis, who grew up in Andover and later became a prominent Boston abolitionist, right? Remember, she's listed as black, lived to be 100 and was photographed as an old woman. If Eunice bore any resemblance to her grandfather's sister, then perhaps Kate Phelps looked like this, all right? So that's what they're saying. So Peter and Kate's parents were Abraham and Dido. This is where I got the names of his parents. I can't even verify this, guys. I haven't been able to yet, but that's where I got the name of his parents, and I added that to the tree to see if I got any hints. So they married in Andover's North Parish Church in 1744. The marriage record of Abraham and Dido identified them by the first names, but added that they were servants to James Bridges. So they are servants to actual Bridges, right? That could be Abraham's dad. And servants could be indentured servants, right? Indentured, a contract. This is what I'm saying. We got to really have context here, guys. This could all be family. It says Dido, a mulatto. So they're trying to make the mom into the so-called African, I bet you. And Abraham, the Indian, right? And Abraham, servants to James Bridges. So that's from the original vital records of Andover, Massachusetts, supposedly, right? It says in New England vital records of that time, the phrase servant of and servant to indicated that the person was. No, it didn't. It could be indentured servant. This is why we dodged the hijack, right? It says Abraham's background is unknown. So why are you making up things? His ancestors may have been African or Native American. You see the hijack, guys? What do you mean? That's two different things. You can't say somebody might be African or an American Indian. That's two different continents. Oh, he might be from China or he might be from Colombia. That's two different things, right? How can you do this, guys, right? So obviously paper genocide somewhere is going on here, right? And because these people were known to be colored folks, right? They're trying to add the African there, so-called black Indians or mixed with black Europeans, huh? Town records keepers of that time used racial terms like Negro and mulatto loosely and inconsistently, so those descriptors offer only weak and misleading clues, all right? Again, those could be used on American Indians that we've been learning all these years, right? Still, as the story of Peter and Kate will show, the distinction between African Native American heritage could be relevant in matters of Massachusetts law. Abraham probably became enslaved in James Bridges Jr.'s household when James Bridges Sr. died. You see, that might be his brother. He might be the illegitimate child of James Bridges Jr. Why are they carrying the surname? All right. It says Ditto was certainly Native American. So the mom, who they were saying was listed as mulatto, right? They're saying here in the same article, again, there's no sources here, guys. So I wish I knew where they're getting this from. It says Ditto was certainly Native American. Many of the people enslaved in the early decades of Essex County were Native American, okay? Body bag for the illusion. Many. So what Africans did they bring, huh? They're enslaving the native population, huh? I told you guys, you see, as you keep digging through history when it comes to slavery, you start finding Indians. That says after 1700, New Englanders more frequently enslaved Africans. Yeah, sure. Show me the sources. So it says when British colonists captured Native Americans during the ongoing hostilities in the 17th and early 18th centuries, they often sold them into slavery in either New England or the Caribbean islands. You see, matching what we were learning yesterday about Barbados and the Indians being sent there, right? Perhaps Dato herself was captured, or her parents or grandparents were. Somehow she ended up in Andover household. The stories of indigenous enslavement have been buried too long, but researchers are now uncovering more of their stories, like we've been doing, right? That's us right here, and finding that Indians hadn't simply disappeared. Remember, I've been telling you this. They said, "Oh, you went extinct. Oh, the last Indian died." No, they didn't. You reclassified them. You enslaved them. You murdered them. You relocated them. You did paper genocide on them. So a lot of times they're saying, they used to say, oh, they just disappeared from New England. Those who didn't succumb to disease or settler attacks were often enslaved. They became your Negroes. It is not certain which tribe Diddle people belong to, but local historian Charlie Helen Abbott in 1900 described Diddle's son Peter as a Narragansett Indian who lived among the Penobscots when he was an adult. So, guys, this is what I'm getting from all this, right? What I'm getting from this is that whole Narragansett story is probably from Ditto. She's probably the Narragansett, and Abraham is the Penobscot Indian, right? Penobscot and Narragansett coming together. They could have both probably been enslaved or indentured due to this what was going on to American Indians, right? But either way, it seems like the Bridges, that might be their dad, that James Bridges, that might be the relationship that way, and she might be the Narragansett. So that whole story, they were trying to make you. I want you guys to pay attention to this because you'll find the same thing, and people will run with this. Oh, my grandma was a full-blooded Indian. I found the newspaper article, right? And then I'm like, and then I asked them, well, how did she get the last name Roos then, right? And how did the last name Roos come about? We already went over, right? It came from England. It came from England, right? So there's European mixed in this lady who was supposed to be 100% Indian. So don't be doing that, guys. Don't be biased. Make sure, verify everything. Okay? This is a great example. Now, even though her dad might be full blood, but where did the Bridges come from then, right? Oh, they took it from the slave master. I want to prove that's not his dad. Prove to me that wasn't his dad that owned him. And then Dato was a servant in the house that he hooked up with. She was a Narragansett. So you guys see that? Now, real quick, going back down, right? Eunice, who has indigenous blood, though, right? She still has indigenous. She's not full blood, but she has a lot of Indian blood, right? She married Prince Alexander Ames. Remember, he was a soldier in the Revolutionary War. He's supposed to be a black soldier, a servant, right? But then I found something about the Ames genealogy too. Before I do that on the Ames, I just want to show you that in the same article I was just reading, right, where it says that maybe the mom was the Narragansett, it's talking about Peter being listed as a Negro boy right here. So you see, a Negro boy named Peter, so they're giving this onto James Jr. So remember, a lot of times they did this so the family wouldn't be separated. So he might be giving his illegitimate son to his other legitimate son so he can take care of him and work under him. But remember, I just showed you That is probably a Pentecost, and his mama Narragansett, and they're calling him a Negro. All of a sudden, he's a Negro here, right? So you forget the whole history. Now he's just being turned into an African in history, right? When both his parents might be Indians. I just showed you that, right? Peter's parents, Abraham and Dido, might be Indians. So how is he a Negro boy? I just want to show you guys that. You see, you got to dodge the hijack a lot. A Negro boy named Peter, about 2 years old. Now I want to read this document here. It says here, early records of the Ames family of Andover, right? So again, the Ames family of Andover. Ames, we're in Andover, right? Peter Ames, Andover. Remember, he was the dad of Philip Q, who was the dad of Frances, the wife of William Cooper Nell, the guy we started with, right? You see where we're getting the Ames from, right? So we ended up with Prince Alexander Ames. So I want to just read a little bit of this. And this was also compiled by Charlotte Helen Abbott. She did a great job with this part of her family. All these lines. It says the Ames family of Andover. The name is spelled in Essex County records as Ames, Eames, or Eames. So many different variations. It says Robert Ames, ancestor of our Andover line, was a husbandman of Boxford, whose homestead was 1/8 mile west of the present residence of John T. Wood in the West Parish of Boxford. Robert first married in 1661 Rebecca Blake, daughter of George Blake of Gloucester, and his wife Dorothy. Rebecca's parents moved to Boxford about 1669, and her father there, February 1698. Her mother died December 12, 1702. According to a deposition, Rebecca had lived as a servant in the home of William Coxwell. Also, she was a servant, but these are supposed to be Europeans, right? But she's an indentured servant. Either way, they're telling you that the Ames name for the families in Andover, right? This is the progenitor. So even if the Ames we're going to read now happen to be very known Indians in the area as well, somewhere in their Indian blood, they had this Ames European blood too. Okay, so the Ames is being passed down. Whether you want to think it's just, oh, the slave owner passed it down to his Indian slaves, that's wishful thinking. And most in general, in real history, most of the time they're mating with the Indians and passing the name down to their children, right? As well. Okay. So where are we here? So of course I don't have a direct link to this Robert like I did with the Roos family. You saw I did it because there was more records, but because remember they're calling this the boy a Negro, and then there's Indians dealing with it. They're enslaving Indians. This history is not being very. It has been forgotten or has been neglected. They don't want to make the connection. But I'm going to show you what I found here. So all the way down on page 14, as I kept scrolling down, I run into a Nathan Ames. Okay, this is down the line, right? It says, and wife Phoebe Robinson. It says that with him lived Eunice Roos, the Indian daughter of a white woman who was so dainty and correct that Deborah, who shared her room and work, held her an example. Eunice was a daughter of Priscilla Farnham on the Nathan Abbott side. All right. So remember, they're talking about this Eunice, who is the daughter of Deborah, right? Who is the daughter actually of Priscilla Farnham, which we already went by. But these people were living with Ames, right? So they are associated with this side as well. So obviously somebody does know these people's parents, right? They know Eunice knows her husband because she was living with the Ames, right? She was living with up the line somewhere, up here somewhere. 2 generations, she was living with somebody older than her that's an Ames. So that's Princess Ames' family, her husband. So obviously somebody knows who these people's family are, and they're just not keeping it real with us, right? Because it's going to prove and debunk their out of Africa theories and all that other stuff about Europeans being white and all that. So it says both girls lived in the Nathan Abbott home with Deborah's aunt Abigail, wife of Nathan Lydia. Okay, so they're all intermarrying, you see. Now let's talk about Prince Alexander Ames, Eunice's husband. So there is a Ben here, right, in the line. This is like the fourth generation after the original Ames. So there's a Benjamin born about 1724. As you see here, it says he was one of the leading military spirits of the Revolution, and prior to that was active in the French and Indian Wars. From the start, Bailey's Sketches of Andover gives most of his public record. By his first marriage, he came to possession of valuable farm, blah, 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 right? It says So Ben was a captain at Bunker Hill, commanded a company which lost 3 men. His home was in West Parish on the Chandler estate, where he owned a Negro servant, George, worth 66 pounds. So, right, see, the Negro he had was George. It doesn't say nothing about Prince being his Negro servant, right? The antiquarian gives Lexington as his birthplace, and it's possible that Sam lived there before coming into possession of the Stevens property, which his wife Hannah inherited. So this Benjamin is the one I believe they're talking about further down. This is on page 6, so we're going to go further down. Now, all the way on page 20, right, we reach finally somebody we've been looking for. Now, remember Eunice, right? Bruce is married to Prince Alexander Ames. And I actually found them, right, in this article. And it says Prince Ames was the servant of old Captain Ben Ames. So that's the Captain Benjamin Ames I just showed you from the Ames family. How did Prince get the last name Ames? Though some called him an adopted son. Some said that's his son or adopted son. What if that is his son? What if that is his son? Right? Remember, they said that Ben had a Negro named George. That's not him. He already has other slaves. They didn't say it. So they say might be his adopted son. He was a mulatto, a dark complexioned and dark complexion, mulatto and dark complexion. He served in the Revolution. Prince Ames, right? Black patriot, right? His certificate reads, "This may certify that Prince Ames, late a soldier in the Continental Army, belonged to the town of Andover and served in the army for said town until lawfully discharged." So it doesn't say he belonged to Benjamin, right? The primary sources don't say nothing about him being a slave to Benjamin. That's just them saying it because he's mulatto, because he's dark complexion, huh? He might be an illegitimate son. He adopted him, huh? Adopted son. That is probably his son, guys. This is probably what I'm saying. Where did they get the Ames from? Where did they get the Ames from? Can't just say, oh, that's a full-blooded Indian, right? So again, he married Eunice Roos, right? And they had all these kids, right? This is what we've gone over. Here's Philip, right? Here's Philip, the dad of William Cooper's wife, Francis. So again, Prince Ames, Prince Alexander Ames, right? And that's probably his dad right here. Benjamin Ames. That's most likely his dad. The one that was the captain. Benjamin James, captain. So if that is his dad, we already know his line is going to go up to those Ames. If they're Indians here, most likely. So again, on the Ames side, I'm thinking maybe his mom is the Indian and dad, Benjamin, is not, they're trying to make him the slave child, but that's probably his son. All right, as you guys can see, and going back to his wife, who's supposed to be the full-blooded Indian. You guys saw the whole genealogy on her mom's side is all European. The dad's side, yeah, there's probably Indians there. The mom might be the full-blooded Narragansett. He might be Penobscot with some Bridges, European there. When it comes to Bridges, I did find this book, The Essex Antiquarian. Again, Essex, Massachusetts, where Andover is. And it says here that the Bridges genealogy, the head of the American family of Bridges, as Edmund Bridges, who was born about 1612, came to America from London, England, in the ship James in 1635 and settled in Lynn. He was made a freeman. He was made a freeman in 1639. So he had to work 4 years as an indenture. He was a blacksmith. He was living in Rowley in 1641 in Ipswich. All right, all these surrounding areas, right? And I just want to show you that, all these people, Edmund Bridges, so his son in Andover, born in Andover, right? Andover. This is the same place where the Bridges in our lines are ending up, right? In Andover, right? So I'm thinking that this is the same family that brought over the Bridges name that ends up being in the bloodline of these Bridges that are mixing with Penobscots and Narragansett people. As you can see, all these are in Andover, all right? Another Edmund Bridges III, James Bridges, Andover. So yeah, I try to look to see if I saw Abraham. I didn't see it. I might have missed it, but it's probably somewhere in here. The ancestors of these Bridges, because all these, look, James Bridges on the 6th generation, born in Andover, still in Andover, right? 1756. We're getting very close. We are 1719. You see that? So it's somewhere in there. somewhere in there, guys. This is what I'm saying about this whole line right here. Going up Peter Ames, right? Going up Peter Ames and going up Philip Ames on Francis' paternal side. We haven't even gone to um, Peter's wife, Martha Patty Clark. I'm going to go also up that side for you, okay? Right now. All right, so we continue with Francis Ann Ames' genealogy, the wife of William Cooper Nell, the abolitionist famous from Beacon Hill, free colored community, right? That's where they ended up living. We did her paternal side, literally completely, as you guys just saw. We're going to go into her paternal side's mom side, right? So her paternal grandmother side, which was Marty Patty Clark. And we already had seen that, well, her parents were Amos and Jemima Cobb. So as you guys can see here, Patty Clark's birthplace Hubbardston, just like Martha Ames, Martha Patty Clark, and Hubbard. Her parents Amos Clark and Jemima Clark. Her maiden name is Cobb. All right. And we got many records for her. Again, Martha Ames, Martha Patty Clark, maiden name Clark. Peter Ames, the husband, the child. Okay, that's her. Again, she's from Hubbardston, Worcester, Mass. And so is her dad, born in Hubbardston, Worcester, Mass. We're going to go into his profile. Here he is in the 1800 census in Hubbardston, listed as free white. And I'm going to show you these are black folks. These are black folks, guys. So-called black, so-called people they will call African American today, being listed as free white people. I'm trying to show you something deep here, guys. Pay attention. Amos Clark, right? Amos Clark, the husband of Jemima Cobb, that's her middle name, marriage in Hubbardston, this is them. And here is again Amos Clark and Jemima Clark and Patty, or Martha Patty Clark, right? Another marriage record here, Amos Clark, Jemima Cobb, Rutland, Massachusetts. Another marriage record again, Amos Clark, Jemima Cobb, Hubbardston, Massachusetts. Rutland as well. And Amos's parents, right, he was born in Rutland, is Anthony Clark and Jane Fairfield. Anthony Clark and Jane Fairfield, okay? That's what a lot of families have, as you guys see. And it actually is pretty historic. I just want to show you something here, right? Now it says here, Dr. Clark of Hubbardston, all right? It's the same family, the same Clark family. It says possibly Anthony Clark. That is his dad. That's who we're talking about right here. So when we go into the tree, again, we got all his siblings right here. Olive, Anna, Peter, Daniel. We got Anthony and Jane. We got Anthony Clark right here. All right. Rutland, born 1730. Passed away in Hubbardston, Worcester, Mass, 1792. Okay, so they've been in Worcester, this family. There's a 1790 census of Mr. Anthony Clark. All right, Hubbardston, Worcester, Mass. Let's just read about him a little bit. It says celebrated colored doctor. We're talking about black folks here, right? This is what I'm saying the whole time to you guys. This whole time, we've been going through the genealogy. We open up different lines and stuff. How do we know we're dealing with white folks or so-called black folks? But in this case, this is a prominent family, right? They are doctors, barbers, tailors, colored folks. As it says here, it says possibly Anthony, the celebrated colored doctor, whose daughter Anna married Ralph Adams, colored. His sons, his daughter Anna, Miss Adams, and his grandson Amos and Benjamin all had a wide reputation for skills in curing diseases by the use of roots and herbs. J. M. Stowey, History of the Town of Hubbardston, Worcester County, Mass., with the genealogy of present and former resident families. Okay? You see? That's who he is. And it says here Anthony Clark, right? Holston, Worcester, died in Hubbardston. This is Waikiki Tree. Jane Fairfield is the wife. We got that already. Father of Olive, Gregory, Ann, Adams, and Amos. See? Amos Clark, you see? Same person we are dealing with. And it says here, Anthony Clark is part of U.S. Black Heritage. Okay? But we're dealing with black folks here. This is what I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to show you, okay? So Anthony Clark. And under Anthony Clark, I was able to find the connection with his son Amos right here. This is a birth register. I'm going to show you guys. As you guys see here, Clark Amos, son of Anthony, September 21st, 1768 baptism. And if we go back to Amos' profile, as you guys can see, he was born in 1768, same year as the record, right? 1768, that's him, Amos and Anthony, the connection with the parent and son. So again, these are colored folks, okay, as you can see. So by 1790, this so-called black, right, Anthony Clark from Hubbardston, living in Hubbardston, Massachusetts. This is the 1790 census, right, of Hubbardston, Massachusetts. And just show you Anthony Clark says here, Anthony Clark, as you guys can see here to the left. It says 1 free male and then 4 all other free persons. So it says 1 free white male and all other free persons. So they call him white here. This is a historical colored doctor, right? Colored doctor. It says here Anthony Clark, which was born in Holden, Worcester, Mass, and ended up in Hubbardston. So his family was coming from Holden, Worcester, Mass, still in Worcester, right? So I wasn't able to go past the Clark genealogy, anything on him, but I did find something on the history of the town of Holden, Massachusetts, stating, right, that the lot of land known upon the early records of the town as the Lime Lot was sold, right, in the year 1759 to Mr. Anthony Clark. A settlement in this vicinity is supposed to be the first settlement in Holden. So look, there's an Anthony Clark, same place, Holden, Mass, where supposedly Anthony Clark was born. So it makes sense it could be him. And he had one of the first lands in the town that was, very close to the very first settlement of Holden. Okay, so who is Anthony and who are the Clark family of Holden, Mass, or Massachusetts? I did try to look for it, but I didn't find anything. So on this side of the genealogy, I was able to only go that far. Now, regarding Anthony Clark's wife, Jane Fairfield, I'll just show you guys her genealogy. All right, her dad, Joshua Fairfield, mom, Elizabeth Appleton. As you guys can see, born in Essex, Massachusetts, him, Wenham, Massachusetts. Going up the Fairfield side, we got William Fairfield, 1662 in Reading, Massachusetts, and Esther Gott, Welham, Massachusetts, 1668. Going up the Fairfield line, we got his dad, Walter Ensign Fairfield, coming from England. Okay, his mom, Sarah Skipper, born in Lynn, 1639. These are like early settlers, possibly some pilgrims and Mayflower people. Her dad, William Lynn Skipper, born in England, in Boston, England. Okay, and mom, Sarah Fisher, born in England as well, as you guys can see. So that line going up to England. On the Gott line, we got Esther Gott, who born in 1668, Wenham. Father Matthew Gott, born in Essex, Massachusetts, and Salem. His parents, Richard Gott, born in England, passed away in Maryland. Susan, born in England, his mom, and passed away in Maryland. So that's where that line's going. And his wife is Eunice Cogswell, born in Essex, Massachusetts. On the Cogswell side, her parents is Daniel Cogswell, born in England, passed away in Essex, Massachusetts. And his wife, Elizabeth Duff, her mother. Look, the last name Duff. Look, somebody has the last name Duff. Can you believe that? She's from England and passed away in Essex, Massachusetts, and Ipswich. All right, that's where that line is going. Gonna close these ones right here. All right, you guys saw where all that's going, the Fairfield side and the Gott. So we close the Fairfield side and we go up Elizabeth Appleton. Her dad, Major Isaac Appleton, Ipswich, Massachusetts, and her mom, Priscilla Baker Appleton. Okay, going up the Appleton side, we got Samuel Appleton, born in England, 1625. That's when, and then her mom, Mary Lowell Oliver, born in 1640, Massachusetts, but her dad, John Oliver, born in England. Her mom, Joanna Lowell, born in England. Okay, this is all historic stuff you guys can verify. We close the Appleton side on that side. We go to the Baker side. Her dad, Also a big Appleton. You see, there's this family. So it's Oliver, and he has the same Samuel and Mary. All right, same. They're siblings. They're cousins, literally. And we got Priscilla Simmons on this side. That is the mom, born in 1648, Topsfield, Massachusetts. Her parents, George Simmons from England, passed away in Ipswich, Massachusetts, and her mom, Martha Reed, from England as well, as you guys can see. And we're gonna close this line. All right, and that was Elizabeth Appleton's line, and that was the whole Fairfield line, as you guys can see. All right, and we go back down to Amos, Anthony Clark's son, Amos, right, who was the dad of Martha Patty Clark, who was the parents of Philip, the mom, who is the dad of Francis, the wife of William Cooper Nell. Remember, guys? So that's where we are right now. And now we're just going to go ahead and go up this Cobb line. We got Jemima, the wife of Amos Clark. We're going to go up the Jemima Cobb line. Her parents, William McCobb and Mary Crawford. William McCobb is coming from Ireland right away. Ireland in the 1700s, okay? Her dad. And then Mary Crawford. She was born in Rutland, Worcester, Massachusetts. Going up her line, we got Aaron Crawford, her dad, who was born in Ireland as well. Crawford line, the Crawford line, born in Ireland. So they're marrying each other, right? And then we got Agnes Wilson, who is also coming from Ireland. You see? So this whole line right here, Jemima Cobb's family, they're all coming from Ireland. She is Irish, and she married a colored man? You think that's a white person? Nothing here indicates that any of these people are pale skin or anything like that. And we got a lot of records for these people. I just want to show you, right? Jemima Cobb and Amos Clark, marriage, Hubbardston, Worcester. Again, she's all Irish, and you saw his line. The Clarks, colored folks. His dad is famous doctor, colored doctor. All right. So that's her line. And again, that was all Martha Patty Clark's line, who was the wife of Peter Ames, the parents of Philip Q. Ames, who is the dad of Francis. And that was the whole paternal line of Francis Ann Ames, the wife of William Cooper Nell, the abolitionist that we were first talking about. So now we're going to go into her maternal line, all right? That was all her paternal line. Now we're going to go into her maternal line. Her mom is Lucy B. Drake, born in Andover, Massachusetts, passed away 1876. And her parents are John Mears and Lucinda P. Drake. Lucinda P. Drake, John Mears. Lucy, Lucinda, right? She was named after her mom, Lucy, Lucinda, and John Mears. Okay, so we're going to go up Francis Ann Ames' maternal line now. Okay. Her mom again, Lucy B. Drake, born around 1822 in Andover, Essex County, Massachusetts, passed away 1876. In the 1850 census, Lucy is listed as a mulatto, right? Home, Nashville, Hillsborough, New Hampshire, that's her, and Philip, her husband, with Francis Ann Amos here, 6 years old, the daughter, right? So going up Lucy, the Drake line, she actually took her last name from her mom. It seems that her dad is John Mears. This is what we got. Her mom from different families and also potential parents. When you go into Lucinda P. Drake, you can see that's where Lucy gets her name from her mom, Lucinda. There's an 1850 census, Lucinda P. Drake, mulatto. You see that? Mulatto. So we are dealing with colored folks still. We're in Nashville still, Hillsborough, New Hampshire, same place where Lucy was. But I was able to verify her mom originally in the 1850 census. I'm going to show you that again. You're going to notice that living here is a 44-year-old. At the bottom, you guys see that's Lucinda. That's her mom. That's Lucy's mom, Lucinda P. Drake. That's how I verified her mom. Go into her mom's profile. Again, Lucinda P. Drake, born about 1803, Easton, Bristol County, Mass. Passed away in Sharon about 1834. We also have an 1860 of her where she is being listed as white. You see that? So she went from mulatto to white. Okay, living with another son. 1880. She is so-called white still. See? So you guys see how she went from mulatto to white as the same person. Lucinda P. Drake did marry a John Mears. So I assuming that is Lucy's dad. Not sure what happened. So here's another one. Lucinda Drake and John Mears and Sharon. This is where she ended up, so definitely relates to her. They got married 1825, another marriage record here. John Mears and Lucinda Drake. And under her grave record, we have Lucinda Mears, you see, so she did marry. She did carry the Mears name when she passed away. It says maiden name Drake, death 1834 in Sharon. And look at it lists her parents. You guys see that? Father Lemuel Drake and Rhoda Drake. So we were able to get her parents. Remember, she was listed as mulatto in 1850. So don't get confused. Nowhere you're going to see anything that says, oh, all of a sudden we got white or black folks or anything like that. It's just family, right? Lucinda Mears, the mother of Lucy. She was living with Lucy in 1850. We know that's her mom. Now we know that these are her parents, Lemuel Drake and Rhoda Drake. So that's what I have on the tree. Okay, I'm going to show you guys those lines right there. Lemuel Drake and Rhoda Randall, Lucinda's parents, and these are her siblings. A big family, the Drake family. And when it comes to John Mears, her husband and the possible dad for Lucy, I didn't really find anything. It says he was born in Roxbury, Massachusetts. All right, been there a lot. That's the hood today. That's near Dorchester where I grew up. So John Mears, we're still digging on that, right? So that could be so many things, Indians, Europeans, all that, right? So again, we can't conjecture, say, oh, these are slaves of African slaves that are free now. We can't conjecture like that. So again, we're gonna go up Lucinda's line since I was able to find that, and I'm gonna show you an actual genealogical book on their Drake family that I found, confirming all these people right here. All right. So we're going to take a look at this book right here. It's called The Drake Family in England and America from 1360 to 1895 and the Descendants of Thomas Drake of Weymouth, Massachusetts, 1635, 1691 by Lewis Stoughton Drake. And this is from 1896. Okay. So it's an official genealogical book of this family. I'm going to show you the people we are showing on the tree right now. All right, so we're going to start here on page 86 of this book, all the way in the fifth generation of the Drakes, right? And it says here number 101, Lemuel Drake, right? He is the son of Abiel, who is number 35, right? We're going to go to that soon. It says born 1779, died July 19, 1833, married 1st November 22nd, 1797, Rhoda Randall. You see, Lemuel and Rhoda. All right, these are the people born April 20th, 1779. Go back to the tree real quick. Again, Lemuel and Rhoda Randall, right? The parents of Lucinda. Okay, you see where we are. So the book confirmed. So let's go to the children. As you guys can see, number 4, Lucinda, born about 1806, died 1834. So that was her who married John Mears, had several children. So this is why I said that's probably Lucy's dad, John Mears, but she took on her mom's last name, Drake. All right, now check out my Sephardic Jewish videos for the connection with the Drake family and Sephardic Jews and all that, and crypto Jews. Okay, yeah. So you see Lucinda's listed here, so you guys can see that I did confirm. I'm not just adding stuff, potential parents or whatever. You guys see, I really do try to do this correct. All right, and that is Lemuel and Rhoda's daughter. Okay, so we have, again, Lemuel, born 1779. That's what I have, right? 1779. And then we're going to go up to his dad, Abiel Drake, born 1734 in Bristol, Mass. Okay, we're on page 35 here. We're dealing with the 4th generation. Again, this is Abiel, Lemuel's dad, who is the son of Joseph, number 13. See how they break it down in this book? These are pretty good. It says born October 27th, 1734. Okay, that's what I have, you see? Abiel Drake, October 27th, all right? 1734, died November 13, 1824 in Sharon. Married first Bathsheba Hewitt, born January 2nd, 1735. Daughter of James and Abigail Hewitt of Bridgewater. Abiel was a member of the first military company of Easton, commanded by Eliphalet Leonard. Okay, you guys see why he created that book, Colored Patriots of the United? Like he knew his wife had a lot of history, and his prior family had a lot of history, but it's like being kept secret or something, right? But as you guys can see, I have Charity Hewitt. Hewitt is the same person you guys are gonna see. It says on April 6, 1760, he enlisted in Captain Jonathan Eddy's company for the expedition against Ticonderoga and Crown Point in the French and Indian War, serving 32 weeks and 5 days. Abiel was of Easton, October 1st, 1761, when he bought 70 acres of land in Stoughton in 41st Lot, 21st Division. Okay, so you see how the whole history, right? And here's probably going to list them well, but we're going to keep going up the line just so you guys can verify. All right, we're going to go to Joseph. Okay, page 13, third generation. We go to Joseph right here. Number 13, born on April 1st, 1706, about died June 8th, 1791, age 85. It says, in the Sabbath book of Nathan Sell is found the following. On June 9, 1791, Uncle Joseph Drake interred in the first burial place in Easton at 4 p.m. Suffolk deeds report him as having bought 104 acres of land in Stoughton. October 11, 1744. One of the selectmen of the Easton in 1782. The family lived at Easton Center, a little east of his brother Thomas, and about where Charles Reed now lives. He married Bettia, born 1714, died in Easton, August 20, 1805. All right. And here's Abiel, the son. So this is what we have on the tree, guys. Going up the Drake line. Again, we'll go up the other lines. So Abiel, the dad of Abiel. Again, Joseph. Here's the date, Joseph Drake, and here's Bettia Brett. That is her maiden name. They were mixing up Joseph and his brother Daniel, and they were putting Daniel Joseph, a lot of families, and because they all had like a wife named Bettia, and they were mixing all these people up. I had to figure it out. All right. So what I have here, Joseph's dad is Benjamin Drake, born 1677 in Weymouth, Norfolk County, Massachusetts. So again, guys, you saw that was a direct line to Lucinda, who was listed as mulatto. All right, so where's the so-called white folks? Where's the Africans? You know, you got to dodge the hijack here. This is what I'm trying to show you now, right? And I know the history of the Drakes and their connection with crypto Jews. That's what I'm saying. So this is what I'm trying to show you. We're going to go back to the book to verify Benjamin. So page 6, right, on this book, the Drake genealogy, we go down to number 5, Benjamin. That's what I just showed you, born at Weymouth. See, January 15, 1677. That's what I had. Was alive as late as August 1st, 1759. Married W. Sarah Poole. Born about 1678. Died in Easton, December 24, 1775. Daughter of Samuel of Weymouth. June 6, 1700. He bought into Taunton North, purchased 50 acres of land and dwelling house of what is now the Cynthia Drake Road on Church Street, south and southwest of the old burying ground in southeastern, and settled thereon. June 9th, 1719, he bought 1/2 of 1 acre, 800 acres of land in Middleborough, called 12 Men's Purchase. No deed of sale of it appears. On November 19th of same year, he bought large estate of brother Thomas. Wow, so you see people buying big land, right? All right, that's Benjamin, and his dad is Thomas. We're going to go to Thomas as well. It says number 1, right? And so when we go up Benjamin, right, you see Thomas Drake. Thomas Drake was born in England, so-called English, huh? So-called, right? And he passed away in Weymouth. He was the one that brought the Drake family name and this specific line of the Drakes in Massachusetts and this areas of Massachusetts. His wife, Jane Holbrook, also from England, okay? Let's go in the book and verify. So literally on page 1, it says here, Thomas Drake and descendants. So you see, I had actually done this and before finding the book, and I was able to verify after, but as you guys can see, there's like historical. That's what I'm saying. All these other lines that I showed you before, you can verify it. It's all historical. Thomas Drake was born in Quallyton, Devon County, England. All right, England, where the parish register still shows the record of his baptism on September 13, 1635. He was the youngest son of William Drake, Esquire, of Jarbury in Quallyton, who was buried in Temple Church, London, and whose will dated November 2nd, 1636, and probated February 29, 1639 to 40, is still in existence. His mother was Margaret, daughter and heiress of William Westover of Quallyton, The heirs, you see the bloodlines, right? The record of her marriage to William Drake, November 14, 1620, and of her burial at Colleton, April 16, 1635, are also recorded on the Colleton Parish Register. Thomas Drake, his father and mother, both being dead, followed his relative John Drake of Taunton, Mass., and Windsor, Connecticut, to America about 1653, all right? He was accompanied by his sister Joanne, who married Thomas Randall. So you have the Randalls already mixing with the Drakes before, right? Before the ones we encountered, son of Robert Randall of Weymouth and Elizabeth, who married Ezekiel Hamlin of Boston, August 8th, 1654. You're going to find a lot of Hebrew names, Christian names in these families. Says Thomas Drake soon settled in Weymouth, Massachusetts. His name first appeared on the record of that town in a list of property owners in 1663, in which he is described as owning Lot 70, containing 6 acres in First Division, beginning on Bronte Line, and 18 acres, Lot 33 in Second Division. Prior to that, the latest list of land owners noted was that of November 26, 1651, in which his name does not appear. Hence, he settled in Weymouth after 1651 and before 1663. All right. So it says the frequency with which his name appears on the land deeds and war records of the time shows that Thomas Drake took an active part in the affairs of the town. His name occurs on witness on deeds, in those years, 1664, and 3 years later, he was member of the Suffolk Troopers. He took an active part in the King Philip's War. All right, they're killing the Pequot, right? You see, these might be black on black crimes, is what I'm saying. He took an active part in that war, the King Philip's War, and June 24, 1676, was a member of the garrison at Punkapo, where he saw at least 2 months' service. All right, so it says he married twice. It says his first wife, Jane Holbrook, which we have here, daughter of Thomas, and Jane Holbrook of Weymouth. His second wife was widow Millicent Carver. Okay. So going back to the tree, that's what we had. You see, Jane Holbrook, we got the whole history, and believe it, we have sources in these things too. You see, even though I only attached a couple, look, there's 13 hints here with the whole history. I can add all this eventually. These, right? Look, these are all images, but here he goes. Benjamin, New England Historical Genealogical. Here's the Massachusetts Town records listing his dad and mom right here. You see that? So there is real records of these people, and that's how you build your genealogy. So again, this was the Drake line, for on her maternal side, where we were talking about Francis Ann Ames, the wife of William Cooper Nell. We went up her maternal line, Lucy. We followed the Drake line so far, right? We're gonna go ahead and go towards the other lines just to show you where they end up. So going down here to Benjamin Drake and his wife Sarah Poole. Just to show that her dad Isaac Poole, born in Weymouth, 1650. So remember, these are very early colonists. A lot of them barely being born in the Americas. So in the Poole side, Isaac was born here. His dad Edward Henry Poole came from England, Weymouth, England, and they named Weymouth, Mass. You see, his mom Sarah Piney, also coming from England. A lot of English on this side of her family. And you can't just, conjecture and say these are all white folks, So going back down to Isaac's, Sarah Poole's mom, Mary Sherman. She was born in Watertown, 1643. Again, barely resident, people being born here. Her dad, John Sherman, born in England. Again, you can verify all this just like I did the other line. It says Martha Porter. Here's her mom. It says born 1660 in New Hampshire. That's not correct because these people didn't really get here until 1619 and 1620, so they shouldn't be, supposedly, right? No Europeans here at that time. Either way, we left it there. Her parents, Porters, come out in a document here that I found. This one right here says Martha Porter, father Roger Porter. Doesn't list where they're from, but most likely from Europe. Grace Porter, mother, and it makes sense because she does have a child named Grace. So she named her daughter after her mom. So that's what I have. Roger Charles Porter and Grace McKean. So, hey, maybe there's Indian here too, right? McKean, what is that? McKean. All right. So you see where those lines go, the Poole side, we go close that. We go down to another Drake line, Joseph Drake going back down, and his wife, Bethia Brett, going up the Brett line. We zoom in. These are her parents. Elihu Brett and Susanna Edson Hayward. Going into Bethia Brett here, daughter born 1714. All right, so I found this genealogical book literally on the bread family. It says here the bread genealogy. That's the bread motto. It says bellies eat cold pussies. So it says one, the breads in England, two, William Bread, three, Roger Bread, compiled by L.B. Goodenough in 1915. Okay, so I go to page 38 of this book, and it says here the bread genealogy. So they're gonna pick up on a specific line here. It says there were many Williams in the Ford families. Like you see the Ford family also coming together with the bread. The Kent branch is the one followed out here. They having come from Hastings in Sussex, the adjoining county, where the Bretts also dwelled from the Battle of Hastings, 1066, when they received large grants from William the Conqueror. The children of William and Margaret Brett are not recorded. So far as I can find, they certainly are not in the Bridgewater records. From his will and other sources are gathered the following names and probable dates of their births. All right, so they do have a will listing the children of these progenitor of the Bretts in the Americas. And it says here, what you'll see one of them, it says Elihu, born before 1650, married Ann Turner. Okay, so that's the line there. It connects to who we are dealing with. So let's go back to the tree. Just remember that. So all the way on page 82, you will find Bethia Brett right here, daughter of Elihu, the third generation, son of Elihu, the second generation, and William from the first generation. She was born March 31st, 1714, married Joseph Drake. You see? Born April 1st, 1706, and died June 8th, 1791. She died in Easton, August 20th, 1805, at age 91. Suffolk deeds report him as having bought 101/4 acres of land in Stoughton. Okay, so, and then you got the children, which we are basically coming from, that we just verified. So again, Bettia, the mom of Abiel, okay, Bettia Brett, and her dad, Elihu. All right, again, there's records for all these people coming up. We got Elihu and Susanna. So again, it doesn't list her mom here, but it is Susanna. We got Elihu Brett, her dad, born in 1681 in Bridgewater, Plymouth, Massachusetts. You see many sources for him. As you can see here, Susanna and Bettia right here, and that's her mom, Susanna Brett, in this record. Here he is on page 58 of the book, Elihu Brett, third generation, born 1681, as you see here, married 1706, widow Susanna Hayward. The Haywards and the Bretts were mixing together a lot, I realized. So daughter of Samuel and Susanna. So we're able to verify her parents through here too. So daughter of Nicholas Byram Edson, born in 1679. She married John Hayward Jr. and they had two daughters. Susanna married Joshua Howard and had a daughter Thankful, who married Reverend Silas Brett. So you see all these people intermixing. It says down here, says John Hayward died 1705 and she married Elihu the following year. To those who are not aware of the former existence of slavery in Massachusetts, says except that of the Indians held in captivity, this document, which I copied from the Plymouth records, may prove of interest. It is called the Manumission of Phoebe, the slave girl. He said, if you don't believe in slavery, and you think it was just Indians, well, here's a slave girl. Well, what if she was an Indian too? We already gone over all that stuff. That's something maybe we can look into, right? But these people owning servants, right? So Elihu Brett, same one I got right here, married to Susanna Edson Hayward. You guys see? It all matches going up the line. He is a junior. His dad is Elihu from the second generation or the senior. This one right here, again, Elihu and Ann Turner, which we already kind of verified earlier, and William, the progenitor coming from England, and Margaret Ford, the Ford families also. Says here, born 1636. So I'll say, okay. But she was actually born in England, it says here. The other family has her in England. And if she's not, her dad, William Ford, born in England, and her mom, Alice Booth, born in England. All right, so we're saving that. William, her husband, born in England, saved to tree. So again, we went up a Drake line where we met a Brett line, right? And then on the Brett line, we went all the way up. You see all these people ending up in England, right? If we go down to Elihu and Anne Hannah Turner right here, her dad, George Turner, born in England, her mom, Mary Robbins. It says Duxbury, Plymouth, right? 1627, very early, could be a pilgrim. But her parents, Nicholas Robbins, was born in England, right? And her mom, Anne Robbins, born in England. So all these people coming from so-called English, right? You see going down this line again, close that up. We're going to close Elihu II up, go down to Elihu III. And again, he was married to Susanna Edson, right? Hayward, he married her. Hayward, her mom is Bynum. So on the Edson line, I actually had one, the same thing, a book I found. So this is the book, The Edson Family History and Genealogy, Descendants of Samuel Edson of Salem in Bridgewater, Mass. This is volume 1, chapter 5. We're in the 3rd generation. As you guys see here, Susanna Edson, first child of Samuel Edson and Susanna Byram. Okay. So she married first John Hayward, son of John Hayward and Sarah Mitchell, she being a granddaughter of Francis Cook of the Mayflower. See, these are Mayflower people, you see? He died in Bridgewater April 14th, and she married there Elihu Brett, you see? There she goes, she married, that was her second husband, son of Elihu and Ann Brett, confirming the lineage again. There's many books confirming all these historical people. They died in Bridgewater, she in 1743, and he in April 29, 1745. So going back to the tree, as you guys saw, Susanna, right? Her parents, Samuel and Susanna Bynum. All right. Samuel's dad, again, this is in the book, as Deacon Samuel Edson, coming from England. Again, Mayflower people, right? And Susanna Bigley Orcutt, coming from England, ending up in Plymouth, Massachusetts, right? Going down to the Bynum side, her parents of Susanna Bynum is Nicholas Bynum, or Byram, sorry, coming from Kent, England, and Susanna Shaw, coming from Yorkshire, England, or Halifax. All right, ending up in Plymouth. You see, with this line ended up to this Edson line, and that is verified again in this book right here. If you keep going up the generations, I'm not going to show you all that. I mean, you should believe me by now. All right, so we're going to close this up again. And we see we got here through Joseph and Bethia. We close that up. That's Bill Drake, and that was the dad of Lemuel Drake, and who was the parents of Lucinda Drake, right? Who was the mom of Lucy Drake, who was Francis Ann Ames' maternal ancestors, the wife of William Cooper Nell, right? So all black folks, right, living on Beacon Hill. You saw that Lucinda was listed as mulatto. So, anything that says that these people are white is conjecture. You'd have to prove it. Anyways, we're going to go up the Hewitt line. Charity Hewitt. Here we have Charity Hewitt, as you can see, just so you're not thinking I just made up the names. Says spouse of Abiel Drake, married 1771. In the Drake family book, they actually confirm her parents, Ephraim Hewitt and Charity Wetherell, and you see where they got the name Charity from. So, and this time I'm just going to show you where these lines end up, guys. Trust me, I got all the sources in there as much as I could. So it says he was born in the Hewitt part in Bristol, Mass, 1705. If you go up his line, you got his dad, Ephraim. So he was a junior, Ephraim Hewitt. And so we got, again, one Ephraim born in 1705. His dad, Ephraim, born in Hingham, Plymouth, 1676, right? And then there's another Ephraim on top of him. So there's three of them. His dad, Ephraim Hewitt, born in 1639 in Hingham, still in Plymouth, right? Going up this line, you get to Sea Captain Thomas James Hewitt, very famous. Says born in Falkenham, Lincolnshire, England. So that Hewitt line is going to England as well. The mom, Elizabeth Jane Chapman, and most likely in England or Europe, because it's born in 1611 before Europeans arrived in the Americas. Going down to Ephraim Hewitt, he has a foster wife. All right, says she was born in Plymouth. So again, these are probably early pilgrims as well. And she's actually a Jenkins. Her dad, Edward Frederick Jenkins from Kent, England, ended up in Plymouth, and her mom, Lettice Hanford, born in Devon, England. So you see where all these people are ending up. Okay, we're going to close this, go back down the Hewitt line, go to the second Hewitt, his wife, Catherine Akers, right? Born in 1674. Her dad, Henry Akers, born in Essex or Newbury, Massachusetts. All right, we're going to go up the Akers line. And going up his line, we have another Henry, so he's like junior. So it's Henry Thomas O'Dalkey or Akers, born in Kent, England. You see? And Priscilla Coker Akers. Again, all this is a story. You can verify all these people. I found them in their own little genealogical reports. Again, she's going to England as well. So that was Henry Akers Jr.'s. His wife, Hannah Silver, born in Newbury, Essex, Massachusetts, going up her line. So going up Hannah Silver's line, her dad, Thomas Silver, born in Berkshire, England, 1622. Her mom, Catherine Coker, born in Essex, Massachusetts, 1628. Probably an early baby pilgrim. And Robert Coker is her dad, born in Essex, England, 1606. And her mom, Catherine Ann Moody Huntington, in England as well, 1610. So we go back down the line. That brought us to Hannah and Henry Akers. We go down their daughter to Catherine Akers. That brought us to Ephraim and Catherine, the parents of Ephraim III, Hewitt, right, and Charity Wetherell. We're going to go up the Wetherell line now. Going up her dad, Nathaniel Wetherell, born in Bristol County, Massachusetts, 1696. His dad, William Wetherell Jr., 1656, also in Bristol County. And then William Sr., William New Wetherell, and he is from Kent, England, born in 1627 there. There's a lot of sources, and you can verify these people. Dorothy Dunster is the mom. She's also from England. Okay, going down back to William Jr., his wife Elizabeth Newland, born in Taunton, 1659. Her dad, Jeremiah Newland, born in 1630 in Plymouth, so very early, most likely pilgrim baby. His dad, William Newland, born in Somerset, England, 1610. Okay, and his mom, Catherine Mellows, in 1607, born in Boston, Lincolnshire, England. Okay, so again, this is England, English people as well. Go down back to Jeremiah. His wife, Catherine Ellison, born in Bristol, it says. Her dad, Lawrence Ellison, born in Yorkshire, England. Her mom, Martha Mary Rushton, born in Lancashire, England, 1596. Older generation here. So we go back down this line, and we reach Elizabeth and William Jr., and that brought us down to Nathaniel Wetherell, his wife, Mary White. We're going to go up this White line now, real quick. So Mary White, dad, Joseph White, born in Dorchester. Wow, in 1645. I say why because that's where I grew up in Boston, Dorchester. I can't even picture Dorchester back then because today is the hood, you know. So Joseph White, born 1645. His parents, Captain Nicholas White Sr., born in Rochester, Medway Unitary Authority, Kent, England. Okay, and his mom, Susanna Humphrey, Buckingham, England. All right, we close that. Joseph White's wife, Mary Marcy Hoare, born in Taunton, 1655. And her dad, Hezekiah Hoare, born in Devon, England. Sidmouth or Combine, they're saying. All right, and that wife, her mom, Rebecca Archer. Right, and then the Archer line, it says William Archer, born in 1609 in England. He ended up in Massachusetts with his wife, Alice Little, born in Gloucester, England, and ended up in Massachusetts. That was the parents of Rebecca Archer, the wife of Hezekiah Hoare. The parents of Mary Marcy Hoare, wife of Joseph White, who were the parents of Mary White, who was the wife of Nathaniel Wetherell, who were the parents of Charity Wetherell, the wife of Ephraim Hewitt III. Right? Again, these were the parents of Charity Hewitt, the wife of Abiel Drake, again, who was the parents of Lemuel Drake. You guys remember, we verified all this stuff here. Who were the parents of Lucinda, the mulatto, right? Parents of Lucy Drake, who was the mom of Francis Ann Ames, the wife of William Cooper Nell, the abolitionist. So we basically got this one line here we got to go through, which is Lucinda's maternal line. We went up her Drake line. That was all her Drake line. You saw all that stuff that we found on that side. We're going to go up this Randall line. All right. And it's Rhoda Randall, the wife of Lemuel Drake, the mom of Lucinda. She was born in Easton, Bristol County in 1779. Her dad, John Randall, born in East Hampton, Massachusetts, 1738. We're going to go up to Randall. Tree, it says his dad is John Randall, born in 1703 in Easton, Bristol, Mass. We're still there. And we go up this line, and we got Thomas Randall, born in Weymouth, Massachusetts, 1673. Going up to his parents, George Randall, born in Devon, England. Randall, Devon, England. That's where that ended up. His mom, Hannah Packard, was born Hingham, Plymouth County, United States, supposedly 1646. So, parents, Samuel, most likely from Europe, because everybody else, before that. So it says here, look, Samuel Packard, 1612, Stoneham, England. All right. So one mom, most likely coming from England as well. And then we close that line. Thomas Randall going down. There's Rachel Lincoln on this side. So we got a Lincoln all the way over here is his wife. And her dad, Samuel Weaver Lincoln, was born in Plymouth, Massachusetts. And then his dad, Thomas Lincoln, the miller in England. I think it might be ancestors of Abraham Lincoln too, if I can remember correctly. But he was born in England. The mom, Avis Anus Lane Lincoln, born in Beaminster, Dorset, England. So you see where that line went. Go back to Samuel Weaver Lincoln, his wife, Sarah Catherine Jones. She was born in Dedham, Norfolk, Massachusetts in 1638. Now, there's a family suggestion that Sarah is actually a Royce, right? Not a Jones. I'm not sure, which one's correct because I have none to verify this particular line. And they're saying her parents are Robert Royce and Mrs. Robert Royce, right? So we don't even have a name for the mom. All right. So that's why I left that blank. That's as far as I got on Sarah Catherine Jones. We close that back down. That was the parents of Rachel Lincoln, who was married to Thomas Randall, the daughter of the parents of John Randall Sr., who married Experience Willis. These people came up on the other lines, the Edson lines in Brett Genealogy's book. So she was born in Bridgewater, Plymouth, Massachusetts. Her dad, John Willis, born in Bridgewater, Plymouth, 1671. His dad, Jonathan Willis II, born in Duxbury, Plymouth, Massachusetts. Again, these are very early settlers, pilgrims, most likely. And John Willis, Senior, is 1610, born in London, England. You see? That's where that Willis line ended up. His mom, Elizabeth Hodgkins, born in London, England as well. Okay, going back to Jonathan Willis II. His wife, Experience Byram. So another Byram, right? Willis. So her dad, Captain Nicholas Byram, born in Kent, England. And Martha Shaw. This is a relative of the other Byrams we encountered earlier. You see, they end up with the same people. She was born in York, England as well. That Byram line. Go down to John Willis from 1671. His wife, Mary Brett. And again, guys, we did a Brett earlier. This is another relative, literally a cousin of the other Brett we did today. And you see Elihu Brett, the second generation one, and Ann Turner. You're going to go to William, right, Brett, and Margaret Ford. As you guys can see, we already did this. So it's the same lines marrying with each other. You see in different lines here in this family of William Cooper's wife. So we go down back to Experience Willis and John Randall. That brought us back down to John Randall from 1738. His wife, Tamar Phillips, all right, whose parents are Joshua Phillips, born in Eastern Bristol, Massachusetts in 1704. All right, go up the Phillips line. His parents, John Phillips from Weymouth, Massachusetts, born in 1670. His dad, Richard Phillips, born in 1635 in Dedham, Massachusetts. Again, early settlers, guys. And then his dad, Deacon Nicholas Phillips XI, born in Wendover, Buckinghamshire, England. Okay, and then his mom, Elizabeth E. Jewson. Look at that last name, Jewson, son of a Jew. That's what it literally sounds like. Born in 1612 in Wendover at Aylesbury Vale District, Buckinghamshire, England. Okay, that's where this Phillips line ended up. Go back down to Richard. Mary E. Packard, his wife, born in England. So we don't have to go any further up. Close that line. Back down to John, his wife, Elizabeth Drake Phillips. You see, there's another Drake here marrying in. And look, Thomas Drake from England, the progenitors of the Drakes. You see, they're all marrying each other, guys. And it's conjecture say any of these people all white folks, So we go down back to the line to Joshua Phillips, who had married Mary Hunt. Okay, going up Mary Hunt's line, we get her dad, Joseph Hunt, born 1660 in Weymouth, Massachusetts. And going up the Hunt line, continuing, his dad, Ephraim Sir William Hunt, born in 1610 in Lee, Buckinghamshire, England, and his mom, Ebbet Brimsmead, born in Weymouth, Norfolk, Massachusetts, 1633. And it says that her dad, William, I haven't added it, but you guys can see he's going to end up in England, Bishop's Hole, Somerset, England, and most likely her mother as well. All right, so we close those lines, go down to Joseph Hunt. We got Margaret Keefe right here. Margaret Keefe, born in Bridgewater, Plymouth, 1682. Her dad, James Keefe, coming from Scotland. And now we finally got somebody else, right? Not just England. So James Keefe, that Keefe line going up to Scotland, ended up in Bridgewater. And then Susanna Edson. And we already got the Edson family tree on the other side, which ended up in Deacon Samuel Edson, same thing. So you see all these little families, cousins marrying other cousins and other lines in the same family, right? That's how they do it. They stay together. Okay, so we close that up. Close these two up. We go down to Joseph and Margaret Keefe. We close that up. That brought us to Joshua Phillips and Mary Hunt from the 1700s. And that brought us to Tamar Phillips again, the wife of John Randall from 1738. We closed that. And that was Rhoda's line. That was all of Rhoda's line. You guys saw that. I showed you every line of all these people. Again, this was the parents, Rhoda and Lemuel, of Lucinda. And I just want to remind you, Lucinda, right? 1850 is listing her as a mulatto. All right? Mulatto. All right? In Nashville, Hillsborough, New Hampshire. So conjecture saying anybody's white or black, anything like that. All right? And again, that was Lucy P. Drake's parents. Again, that was the maternal line of Francis Ann Ames, the wife of the abolitionist, very famous person here, William Cooper Nell, who were living in Beacon Hill, these people, free people of color. I literally did their genealogy today, guys. I'm glad I was able to do his wife's genealogy as well, because his was very, we didn't really get much, but you guys kind of saw what I was hinting at where it might go. But either way, we learned a lot. There's black folks here being probably called or whitewashed. They're being called free white. There's Indians here. And the main thing here, guys, is, did you see any Africans? Did you find any Africans at all in this whole genealogy? And you saw how very European her ancestors are, right? Even though there's Indians, a lot of Indians probably, there's also a lot of English, so-called English, right? So just something to think about, free people of color, huh? In Boston, we're going to have a future video on this town, Beacon Hill, and the real history about it, because it has been whitewashed, guys, right? And it's being hidden, the role that black folks played in Beacon Hill, Massachusetts. All right, so now this was another episode of Genealogical Stories. I hope you enjoyed it today. 2 more people here to get to know and see their genealogy, so you guys can see again and again that we really ain't finding Africans, and anybody that's being called black, Negro, African Americans, colored, right? Indians, right? All that, right? Mulattoes, things like that, right? So I hope you enjoyed the episode, very to the point, and hey, at least we did it, her genealogy. Nobody can tell me anything about it, her being, having any kind of African ancestry, right? Even though, her and her people are being called black folks, right? Her and her parents and her grandparents, right? All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. If you tuned in all the way, if you watched it later, hope you like this episode of Genealogical Stories. All right. You see the hijacks and you see the truth, right? Hope this helps you out in your genealogy and understanding real history. Much love and respect. Pura vida, mi gente. Wow.